Hi, everyone. Welcome to Soulprint. Thank you so very much for being here. Also, a very, very big thank you to all of you who have not unsubscribed, but more. All of you that sent me messages of comfort and encouragement and support. Um, they really did mean a lot, and I'm very, very thankful for them. Now, I know it's Friday, and I'm supposed to be saying, let's get started with your questions. I'm hoping to actually release the Pendulum Friday video on Monday, if all goes well. But today I wanted to just pop in and do just a quick little reading. You turn on the TV and it's like everybody talking about the disastrous things that are going to happen and how they're going to resist it. And then there's this other conversations about the election, the numbers don't add up and things don't make any sense. And so I just wanted I pulled out my cards. I just want to take a look and see if I can get some clarity on what is going on. I know a lot of you said that you just don't believe that the results are accurate. And I guess if that is the case, that we will find out, one hopes, before the 6th of January, I guess. It will not be an easy, even if it's proven, it's not going to be an easy thing to get it somehow reversed. Okay. There's no way that states can basically afford to just do a redo election, right? I mean, and it's not only, it would just be a lot and complicated. I'm not saying it can't be done, but I'm saying I don't think it's just as easy as saying you cheated, you didn't win, go away. Is sort of my thinking. So, more importantly, there's all this talk about the horror of Trump, the horror of Trump. But this is what we got to remember. When we're sending out energy and we're trying to find that balance, and we're trying to sort of find a way almost to, create a resistance. We have to remember this. If something happens to Trump, and I mean, I know a lot of us readers have all seen sort of a health issue or a health concern with him, which was a wonderful thing. Sorry, Karma. But it was a wonderful thing if he didn't win, because then that way he would just go away and all of the noise would stop. But as long as he is still listed as, president-elect, as distasteful as that is to think about and or even say, if something happens to him, who do we end up with? We end up with J.D. Vance in the White House. And who is J.D. Vance? A complete puppet for Project 25, for the Heritage Fund, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just putting it out there because I just want you to be mindful of the thoughts you're thinking. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you're looking to not invoke kind of the Trump name or the Vance name for that matter, I would suggest that you simply use the Republicans, because let's face it, there are more than one or two of them that are involved in this truly disaster. I know that you guys are getting a lot of support from around the world, but there is also a lot of questions being asked by other countries of like what is going on out there? How could this guy have won? How do our countries respond to the fact that we have to deal with Trump? So there's just the energy is still out there, and it's still really, really turbulent because it feels like nothing is decided. Nothing has been sort of set down. The other thing that I want to mention if you're saying things like, God Almighty, we can't take Trump for another 4 years. Stop saying 4 years. At worst, you're looking at 2. Because by midterms, if he is in office by the midterms, he is going to bleep up so much stuff that the voters are just going to flood the midterms to replace the House and the Senate or increase it. I don't even think right now we even know who has the House, but if it's the Republicans, to increase or like to get rid of them. If it is the Democrats who by some magic have the House, we're going to want them to hold it, and we're going to want those numbers to really, really increase. So let's just see what we can see and take it from there. It is and has been an almost unbelievable series of events. And I'm with you, they don't make a lot of sense. You can't have the kind of momentum she had and then lose by that significant enough of a margin. I mean, so, and as I say, I think the thing that really confuses me is this whole idea of in a lot of the counties or districts where she lost, she did less than Biden. That makes absolutely no sense to me because everybody was all in arms because, it's Biden and we need somebody young. And so I don't understand how people can, having gone through that process, just kind of go, okay, well, yeah, no, we're still going to vote for Trump. The other thing that, I saw yesterday, I think, on the TV, talking about the exit polls. And one of the things that just threw me was apparently 56% of new voters voted for Trump. I got to tell you, that is beyond my comprehension. Okay, having said all of that, let's get cracking. So I'm simply going to ask, that's stuff flying all over the place. I'm simply going to ask the cards to give us clarity because it just really feels like we could use some. Clarity re-election, clarity re-election, clarity re-election. All right. Starting with the magician. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at tricks, deception. We're looking at things that, like sleight of hand, right? Things that were going on that shouldn't have been. The other thing that's kind of confusing to me, just as I digress for a second, is the Biden government was really adamant that they had secured the election to the very, very best of their ability. This was going to be the securest election in the history of elections in the United States. And when you're talking about 20 million missing votes, I don't understand how that ended up happening either. Like, okay, but in any case, so we've got deception, we've got trickery. Now, the Seven of Cups, that Eight of Cups, what number is this? The Eight of Cups. Generally this is about walking away from a disappointing situation. And I guess that is that is one of the energies that we're dealing with, right? Because there's a whole lot of people out there who really want to be able to walk away from this result and create, something new or different. We've got the Six of Pentacles here, and this really, really does speak to the interference. Quid pro quo, right? You do this, we'll do that. And listen, we know what countries are most likely involved in this, and there's just no point talking about them. You all know who I'm talking about. But there was definitely more than one. And there was a lot of, pressure exerted to get the compliance that was necessary to make this happen. And that does include Mr. Musk, okay? Queen of Cups. All right, so this is talking about Kamala. And she's very strong, she's very focused. She is also profoundly shattered. She is so disappointed in the result, and even in her heart of hearts, she can't understand what happened, because it's not that she thought winning was a shoo-in. They always said that it was going to be a tight election. What she doesn't understand is the losses and where they are, and how that sort of ended up shifting or changing. Also, the other thing I want you to know is that, so at the end of the Obama presidency, if things haven't been corrected and Trump actually enters the White House, I can see her absolutely heading up a very, very strong and powerful resistance movement. She made it abundantly clear on her concession speech that this was about not giving up the fight. This, in fact, was about fighting even harder. Now, I'm looking confused because along the way, oh, there it is. I dropped a card from the, there we go. Okay, it's a Cups. Well, this is about kind of, going back to a time before. And in some ways, this is going to be about going back before the election and things being reviewed and things being looked at. This isn't going to happen tomorrow, okay? It's going to take some time. They will be blocked in many ways, all right? Because it's not like Putin did this and now he's backing away. He is going to keep that pressure on, and what he wants to do is continue to tear the country apart. So be mindful of that, and be mindful of the fact that right now, there seems to be a bit of a holding pattern, and they're telling me that part of the reason for the kind of holding pattern, at least that we can see, trust me, things are going on behind the scenes. But as of right now, there isn't even clarity about who has the house. And so what the card is basically saying is we all need to take a deep breath and recognize that this is going to unfold. And I have to say, all of the investigations, all of the charges, all of that is now being rolled back. And he's basically going to get away with everything. And honestly, a lot of the blame for that can be parked at Merrick Garland's doorstep. This is where being hyper careful gets you. And Trump's lawyers were able to, it took so long to get this whole thing started or for us to see results. And then Trump's lawyers were able to play the games, and they did exactly what they set out to do, right? They delayed everything until after the election. And, for us, we are like, well, That's not going to do any good. He's going to be in worse shape after the election than he is now. Well, guess what? He's actually not. And so that's also something that needs to be looked at and kind of sorted through. There is a lot of frustration and anger being directed at him, not only from outside, but actually within the government. Because there is real sort of clarity about the fact that some of this crap should have been wrapped up 2 years ago. Okay? It's going to take like some real work, all right? This is just not going to be a walk in the park. There's going to be a lot of pieces that have to come together to make it work. It's going to take diligence. There's going to be information coming from other countries and things that they saw, witnessed, or knew with regards to international interference, that kind of thing. So, again, it feels like it's just going to take a little bit of time. And let's just be thankful that even right now, we have, almost 2 months before January 6th, right? And so that at least gives investigators, et cetera, some time to do what they're doing and see what they're seeing. Listen, the country is absolutely heartbroken. And again, it's not 50% of the country that's heartbroken. It's more than that, because there's just no way that Trump could have gotten like 51% or whatever it is of the votes. But there's heartbreak, and there's a process of grieving that is going on. And very, very many people believe and can attribute this to the devil. The devil, we know the devil that is going to be returning to the White House, and the shenanigans that went on there, and the secrets that were kept, and things that were hidden. All right. There's going to be a push to investigate, to figure out what happened, et cetera. But the elected officials, okay, their thinking right now is not, this was stolen, we have to find out how and why. This was more, their thinking at the moment is, we need to create resistance. So there's going to have to be some dialogue, some conversations, and communications to try to see if the Democrats are wanting to travel down that path. And it's strategic. It is not fear-based. It's strategic. It's about, are we better off to create a really strong resistance as best we can, block everywhere we can, and then know literally that in 2 years, he is going to be rendered powerless if he is in the White House. So that's where it's at right now. Listen, it's like 6 days post the election, right? There is a lot to be sorted out here and figured out. And I think that it's going to take time. Okay, so we have, the Queen of Wands. This is about communications. Letitia James apparently has said she's going to be going after him, hellbent for election. But let's not forget that even though Trump has no official capacity to impact the behavior of individual states, he managed to do it last time, right? He managed to apply enough pressure on, I don't know whether it was the governor or whether it was the Justice Department of the state, but he was able to create wormholes, honestly, that he could slink through to get things done. That is part of the reason that, personally, I am really concerned, because aside from the television, talking heads talking about the gloom and doom and the disaster, you also have people coming on who are reassuring, oh, the Army wouldn't do that, or the Navy or the military wouldn't do that. They would not practice an illegal, they wouldn't do something illegal. Well, yeah, you know what? They very, very well may, or they're going to quit. And so you're going to have this like exodus of people leaving. Because make no mistake, if he tells the military he wants something done and it doesn't get done, whoever he puts in there will just start court-martialing people. So I want you to remain hopeful and optimistic, but I really do want you to not find comfort and reassurance from things that are being said that we know from previous experience he was able to get around before. And again, you know what? I mean, I know that there's a lot of talk about this isn't over, it's not over yet, stuff is going to happen, and I'm not questioning that. What I'm saying is it's kind of like hope for the best, prepare for the worst. It's sort of the energy that I'm seeing. Yeah, there's going to be, resistance. People are going to try to be maneuvers taken to try to contain or correct what has gone on. But this is the thing, again, it just needs to be acknowledged that in this election cycle, Trump was smarter than he was 8 years ago, 9 years ago. He knows stuff now about how the government's run, how different departments do things, and what pressure he can exert now before he starts tearing everything down. So, we have had a habit of not giving that person enough credit. And we have had a habit of not understanding the degree to which he is able to manipulate people, whether it is the people around him, whether it is the voters or the supporters. We've underestimated him. And this feels sort of like this is a price, right? Again, elections have consequences. But what my point was that he's smarter now. He knows more stuff, but he's getting more overt assistance from elsewhere. This has in many, many ways just shattered. Keep using that word, and it just feels like the only one that's applicable. The hopes of so many, and not only Americans, but people around the world are like scratching their heads and going, what the hell did we just witness? So there's a lot of hopes that have just been dashed as a result of this. And you're going to find that ultimately it was, mercenary, right? The thing is, it wasn't mercenary necessarily so much for money, although there is that. It was for power, right? And it was for powerful people who want more power. And don't kid yourself into thinking this is going to be just, they're going to do some investigations and, they're going to find out this happened and they're going to reverse it. I don't get that energy. It feels very much like a hard fought situation, because as soon as there is any talk about the election not being fair, you're going to get resistance on two fronts. One, the Republicans are going to start screaming about the Democrats not accepting the results of a fair and just election. And you're also going to get pushback, again, from outside of the country, wrapping up the inability for people to trust anybody else. It's just going to take a lot. And I just want everybody, to be mindful of that. Okay, this is not going to be a snap thing. Ultimately, do I think that there's going to be some resolution? Yes, I do. But I also think that it's not going to be that easy. And for as near as I understand, one of the things that that was not sort of thought of by the framers of your Constitution, and why would it have been, was that a situation like this would happen where literally an entire party surrendered their own morality, their own sense of faith or trust or truth. But you know what? That's what happens when you have a leader who doesn't believe in any of those things. He, by extension, was giving all the other Republicans the permission to behave that way. And because after the last election, he never stepped back, which I think is what most of us expected, because that's what all previous presidents do. He wouldn't step back, and he never really left. And so that means that we were 4 years, all through the Biden administration, we were dealing again with Trump energy. And honestly, I have to tell you, the thought of spending 4 more years in Trump energy, I swear to you, feels debilitating. But I want people to remember that even at its worst, it's 2 years. And yeah, he can do a lot of damage in 2 years, but there can also be a lot of resistance in 2 years to slow things down. So, keep the faith. As I said, hope for the best, prepare for the worst. I am being really, really mindful to not create false hopes, to be offering a little bit more clarity. And hopefully the clarity brings comfort, even though I think that maybe some of the messages aren't optimistic as, in other places. It's not that I think this is a disaster and it's not going to get corrected somehow, but it's that I think we need to, for once and for all, stop underestimating what pure evil, pure greed, and pure corruption can do. I think it's just time that we look that square in the eye and recognize that because we don't function that way, we're not from that space, that head space, that mind space, we in many ways just can't even comprehend the evilness, if you will, of that. I'm going to wrap this up, but next week, Marcus, my guy in Georgia, and what the hell happened in Georgia? Anyway, in any case, we're going to be doing a video that's going to be, I think, really interesting. We're going to be talking about the Antichrist. I know that is way out of my realm, but the thing is, it's not way out of Marcus's realm. He is incredibly knowledgeable when it comes to the Bible studies, understanding it, interpreting it. So that's going to be coming down the pike next week. And as I said, I'm really hopeful that I can manage to pull Pendulum Friday for this Monday. It's the weekend. It's been a hell of a hard week. Step away from the noise. Do something nice for yourself, something nice for somebody else. and recognize again that the energy of anger and fear creates more of that. And that's where everybody is right now, right? Everybody's like, oh my God, this can't be happening. What's going to happen when he gets back? And it's like the energy is just like spiraling. Take it down. Just take it down. We can't let those kind of emotions gain traction. All right. It's been a tough week, people. Take care of yourself. Until next time, please take care. Be well. Be well. And I'll see you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.